For many weeks until lately, we were all fully incarcerated and grounded for a sin we did not commit. Did I say without committing any sin? Somebody, an unknown person in Wuhan, got infected by a disease through an animal, and this somebody infected somebody that infected somebody that infected, and it spread throughout the continents of the world until it became a pandemic. It led to the involuntary house arrest that I initially termed incarceration, which we found ourselves in. A brother even says the lockdown has become a lockup. The manifold effects of pandemics, be it psychological, physical, emotional, economical, and physiological, can be ginormous. A few days of isolation can affect one mentally and leave a scar for life. This is likely going to be the first and only global pandemic that you and I shall witness in our lives. In our generation, the first in the digital age. The one before this, which killed at an extremely high scale, was the flu tagged the Spanish flu between 1918 and 1920. It killed between 50 and 100 million people. May I just say here that LATV Productions is not here to celebrate this pandemic by the title of this episode or film, looking at the heart-eating, irreparable losses, especially lives, that we are being left with in its instance. Far from it. Rather, it is to point out the many things we could change as a people to avert such manifestations in the future. What we call benefits or advantages of COVID-19 are mostly things we could do better for a more accommodating space for future generations. The pandemic has made one statement amongst others. Life can be more flexible and better lived with some adjustments. There is always some good in bad occurrences, some people say. It is those things we can now refer to as good due to the COVID-19 lockdown that this program is based upon. The consolations, advantages, and the things we can look back at in retrospect and claim to be the dividends of the pandemic lockdown will be highlighted in this program. The benefits of COVID-19. Let's begin the countdown of the pluses or advantages and the new lifestyle COVID-19 and the pandemic lockdown has involuntarily brought on us. This is in no particular order. I am Prince Larry Adigo. Enjoy. Let's start with family bonding. One of the major benefits of the lockdown is the ample time given to families to redeem their love for each other. Although there was a report of increase in domestic violence, there has never been any time on record in this century that families have had time to recalibrate or reset their love for each other. A lot of couples claim to have been able to reassess their relationship by re-evaluating their priorities and feeling the way they felt when they first just met. The children too have never seen the whole family together under the same roof at the same time, apart from when in their beds or individual rooms for the night. Maybe an exception will be when on holiday together. I am waiting for another big dividend of this pandemic between the next 7 to 9 months. The baby boom. Let's talk about the new skills and discoveries. Couples have discovered new skills and talent from each other while doing many things together, like cooking, being nicer and friendlier than thought. Families have 3 square meals together, home-cooked meals. They watch movies and television for longer. They play games together. They take turns at cooking, at doing the laundry. They have time for helping with the homework and helping each other with the long-delayed do-it-yourselves or DIY, to mention a few. They have all the time in the world together. Something you may never have guessed could happen or envisaged in your wildest dreams, like our tagline states. Quality time. A friend of mine told me a story that he told me a moving story about their new baby. The friend hardly sees his family awake before setting out on his journey to work 6 days a week. The family is always asleep when he leaves home, and they are back in bed before he gets back. Any little time he had trying to hold the baby always led to the baby being scared of his dad. He said you can see his face turning red and he starts stretching his arms towards his mama, and screaming. With the pandemic lockdown, the baby has so much taken to the dad now that he will not let him out of his sight for too long. The simple value of family life, which have long been thrown down the drain, taken for granted, and eroded, have been reclaimed. Thanks to the virus. Going to work, appointments and office work. The lockdown has been an eye-opener. It has debunked the belief that if the world came to a standstill for one day, heaven will come down. Where are all the diary appointments gone? No more excuses like, hello darling, I'm fully booked and I cannot come up early this week. And darling, could you help pick up the kids as I'm running late? So we could live without the hustle and bustle. COVID-19 has brought and forced on us a new normal. Let's talk about working from home. They think it wasn't possible. For a lot of companies, working from home, or simply called WFH, was seen as impossible. Now, many organizations have decided that most of their members of staff will not have to come back to the office, as it is cheaper for the companies to work remotely from home. No more paying for office space. No more beverage purchase. Cleaners. Office building maintenance. Computer upgrades. And so on and so forth. From research, it has been discovered that people are even more productive working from home. They spend more hours without knowing it, while they take more breaks from their computer screens, shorter breaks, and not worrying that some boss was snooping on them. Moreover, this even gives these working parents the opportunity to see each other and their children more, reiterating the fact that they will eat more healthily and together. Let's talk about money. Money. How have you done with money? While less pollution became a benefit, money is saved. A good example is the drastically reduced electricity and gas bills for industries and offices. A lot of people claim they have saved a lot of money as there have been no expensive high street coffees and meals, no laundry to pay for as the ones dry cleaned some weeks ago, or over 2 months ago rather, have not been worn, no commuting to and from work, meaning no travel expenses as well. The gyms, pubs, and nightclubs are all on lockdown too. This is huge savings for a lot of people. You have saved so much by ordering groceries and cooking at home, as the restaurants are not spared the lockdown except for deliveries. Even the banks have been very understanding, and the finance houses in general. Debts and loans are being rescheduled by the banks and loans companies, and people are given a break if they could not afford to service their debts due to the pandemic. And this is without leaving a bad footprint on your credit worthiness. Delivery companies have been so favored by COVID-19 as they are inundated with deliveries from orders made through online companies. Big online grocery stores offering delivery services have had to suspend their services, while some restricted deliveries to the most vulnerable in the society. Such multinational companies as Amazon have cashed in on the pandemic to increase their own sales dramatically. Let's talk about pollutions. I have used pollution in its plural form to include many types of pollution, including noise pollution, visual pollution, and air pollution. One of the main world problems, if not the major problem at this moment, apart from the pandemic, is how to save the world for generations to come. Global warming through pollution and animal extinction are examples. During the pandemic lockdown, the rate of environmental pollution, visual and noise included, and from poisonous gases reduced noticeably. Public rubbish bins were empty. Noise from vehicles' engines and vehicle music systems became silent. Sanity ensued. Carbon emissions have been cut to almost zero, while the air quality has improved immeasurably. I'm sure the animals and birds feel the difference too. As many as the environmental benefits are though, they have come at a price. Air pollution in major cities across the world have been noticed to have waned extremely during the total lockdown, as reported by the National Astronautics and Space Administration, NASA. The improved air quality is claimed by scientists, including environmentalists, to be able to save a lot of lives. The number of lives that is claimed could be saved are estimated at 4,000 children under the age of 5 and between 50,000 and 73,000 adults over the age of 70 in China alone. What has this pandemic, or what is it going to leave for us for the future? There has been a clamor from scientists for more attention to the environment to avert further pandemics. It is claimed that the resultant effects of activities as exploitation of non-domestic animals, indiscriminate deforestation, mining, air travel and manufacturing help cause transfer of diseases from animals to people. There's a lesson to learn from the pandemic for the future as well. What is the likely takeaway, another takeaway for the future from this pandemic? It is contrary to all evidence that there will not be future virus attacks. A big lesson from the COVID-19 attack is that it alerts us to prepare ourselves better for similar future attacks. There have been unimaginable savings from such celebrations as anniversaries, weddings, christenings, births, burials, and birthdays due to the lockdown. Let me give you a good example. One of my friend's niece's wedding took place in the United Kingdom a couple of weeks ago. They had actually started planning their wedding in earnest at the beginning of this year, 2020. Their budget as of January was in the region of about £14,000. They, like the whole world, knew about the virus and later had a whiff of an impending lockdown. They therefore decided to slow the planning pace down because of this. By the time they were joined together a few weeks ago, they had saved a whopping £11,300. That is, they spent just £2,700, a fraction of their pre-pandemic lockdown amount. There were less than 10 people in attendance in the church, while more than 90 people, including myself, attended through a video communications through conferencing app. It saved them a lot of money. The event saved so much money by cutting out such items as elaborate decorations, expensive invitation cards and program printing, foods, drinks, hall hire, musician, comprehensive video and photography crews, and even honeymoon as they cannot travel. It also saved many people who will have traveled from far and wide to the UK for the wedding a lot of money and hassle. As Nigerians, it even saved us the money we will have spent on buying our wedding uniforms tagged Ashoebi, and the money we will have sprayed as well. Hello, neighbor! The pandemic has improved our social belongingness within our community in a way. I do not remember the last time I saw my next door neighbor. But one Thursday night, a few weeks ago, he popped his head out of the window at around about 8 o'clock to join in our weekly clapping ritual social event to appreciate our National Health Service workers for putting their lives at risk to save the rest of us. We leaned out of the window about the same time and our eyes met. While we were clapping, we were chatting. Unknowingly, a new sense of community has arrived through COVID-19. Another example.
Walking over the garden fence,
or while holding on to the front door and asking for salt from next door have become popular too. It has now become a thing you do involuntarily. The pandemic has forced you into a relationship you would not have thought would exist. Our local corner shops have cashed in on the lockdown too. My local grocery and butcher have been so inundated with purchases that they also started rationing items like the giant supermarkets. What about weekend holidays, weekend breaks, city breaks, and so on and so forth? A lot of money has also been saved by people like me who enjoy searching for deals to go on holidays and weekend city breaks. Learning something new. Many families have gone inside their garages and attics to dig out such games as Monopoly, Puzzle, Snakes and Ladders, and so on. Some people are learning a new musical instrument, new vocation, updating their professional career through online courses as well. Let's talk about health. Has it got any impact on health at all? Cleanliness. There have been major changes in our behavior forced upon us by the advent of COVID-19, which have brought us a lot of beneficial effects. We have become more cleaner. Personal hygiene is now being practiced more. We now wash our hands more and are aware of the importance of keeping clean.
I want to show you how to wash your hands properly. My own way. I'm not following any convention or rules, but I think the way I wash mine is better than those conventions and rules. Okay, let's go.
We now wash our hands every minute, even without eating. One benefit of this is that the children are being educated about new words while learning at the same time about how germs are spread. They've learned about cleanliness, social distancing, personal hygiene, and will grow up with seeing this as the norm. Social distancing and the use of masks have also indirectly kept us healthier. Did you know that through better hygiene, visits to hospitals and doctors have reduced? Another major benefit. Let's look at the children's world. Alice Pong, a pediatric infectious disease physician and the medical director for infection control at Redwood Children's Hospital in San Diego, California, states that there have been sharp declines in hospital admissions and visits to their accident and emergency departments. This applies across board as there are similar reports from many parts of the world. A drastic cut in respiratory problems affecting children, including asthma, influenza, and other related diseases, has been noticed. This again, I believe, is both about cutting pollution and better hygiene practice. Now that we've been locked down, we now sleep longer with no alarm set by most of us. A good number of people of working age sleep for less than 6 hours a day during the week due to their employment. It has been proved that for better health and longer life, we need to sleep for 8 hours a day. That is 1/3 of one's life. By the time you are 60, for example, you are expected to have slept for 20 years. In a research carried out by the National Health Service, the NHS, in the United Kingdom, it is reported that people who said they were in poor health condition had poorer sleep than those who rated their health as good. The average sleep score of 47%. Only 38% of the respondents were classified as good sleepers. Over 4 times as many people with insomnia, that is sleeplessness, reported relationship difficulties compared with good sleepers. And nearly 95% of people with insomnia, that is sleeplessness, wakefulness, or call it restlessness, reported low energy levels in their daily lives compared with over 40% of good sleepers. And also, over 75%, that is 3/4 of those people with insomnia, experienced poor concentration.
Let's talk about sex.
Reports of contracting sexual diseases such as gonorrhea, syphilis, and so on have reduced during the lockdown. The reasons are not far-fetched, as people have stayed with one or no partner, while others have heeded the advice that casual sex, especially with new partners, should be avoided to reduce the risk of COVID-19 infection. For example, UK and Portugal recorded shifts in sexually transmitted infections as evidenced by data collected from researchers in these two countries and reported in the British medical journal BMJ. Miguel Duarte Botas Al-Falau, a dermatovenerologist and invited lecturer in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Lisbon, added that his expectation is for a less rate of sexually transmitted infection as people now weigh their priorities and how much they can do to protect their lives and those of their family and loved ones. This, he believes, is why, in the inverted commas, people are now more aware that nothing really matters when health is lacking, and this raised awareness may be the driving force towards healthier habits. He continues, we will have to wait and see. People are more aware of the goings on around them, especially the pandemic. We want to know more, and therefore, people who hardly watch the television or listen to the news now stay glued to their television sets with their family to learn more about what to do and get an update on the virus. Like I said earlier, while the children are learning new words and new ways through new words, we the adults do too. Some new words, including ones we do not care about, have now become the words that we now use in our everyday lives. COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus, pandemic, follow, social distancing, asymptomatic, sanitizer, lockdown, self-isolation, zoonosis, and so on and so forth. Improving your vocabulary. Is that not a benefit? Accidents. Vehicle accidents have plummeted to near zero as there are no traffic. A report by the director of the Road Ecology Center at the University of California at Davis, USA, Fraser Schilling and others, concludes that accidents on the US highways have reduced in general due to the lockdown imposed by the government. The report affirms that, and I quote, the reduction in traffic accidents is unparalleled, unquote, as this reduced government spending or saved the public about $40 million. That is approximately £32 million or 37 million euro every day. Every day. That is in the US alone. In 1 month after the stay-at-home instruction was given in the US on 23 March, accidents on state highways in Washington fell by 62% compared to the same period in the previous year. The Washington State Patrol states that the remaining accidents are caused by reckless driving by people able to use the roads, like the emergency services, but doing average speeds of over 120 miles per hour. Burglaries and street crimes, including assaults and robbery, have come down as nobody carries cash around and houses are occupied 24 hours a day. This has reduced the work of the law enforcement agencies and insurance claims. Even traffic wardens are on forced holidays. What a benefit! Have you noticed how there have been less reports of wars, terrorism, insurgencies? This pandemic is powerful. War in Syria, unrests like in Libya, talking tough and threats between heads of state. A good example would be the one between North Korea's Kim Jong-un and US's Donald Trump. What about Boko Haram insurgencies and attacks in Nigeria and neighboring countries, to mention a few? They have all quieted down just because a virus which can be washed away and killed by mere soap and water is about? Wow! A few weeks into the lockdown in many parts of the world, some ardent believers in the diverse religious faith started querying the existence of God. If God is there, why has He allowed the virus to cause so much havoc and lead to the churches, mosques, and other religious places being shut indefinitely? They asked. Things were made worse for this group of believers by the decision of some of the religious leaders who were asking for offerings and tithes from their worshippers while on lockdown. It has therefore given some people a time to retrace their steps and think sensibly about whether they are in the right religious group or not. I can go on and on and on about the things COVID-19 has brought on us, which we could see as consolation. But what consolation where many lives have been lost? There is hardly nobody in this world who does not know someone who has died, or in the beginning. LATV Productions has not brought about this topic to celebrate such benefits, but just to highlight them. An idiom states that something good will always come out of something bad. Well, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a chat with you through this topic and film. Please kindly subscribe for more like this. You may also visit our website www.latv.co.uk. Like we always say at LATV Productions, we love you so much. Please keeping safe.